Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3000. Sorry, I just had a breakfast, very heavy breakfast. Okay, so this is my Artifact episode number 4003. Today's date is 16th. Yeah, 16th of April 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 8:16 a.m. All right. Well, I have very less battery in my mobile phone, so I would not gonna talk shit. I will just directly jump into the question. All right. Okay. So question is, how will I stop toxic behavior of user in Artifact? Okay. First of all, what exactly is this question, and why am I asking this question to myself? Um, I want to build a app called Artifact, My Artifact. What exactly is this app? It's a kind of like a something like a journal writing. Okay, like every day you kind of like a wrote the diary every single day. Someone do, someone do not. Okay, yeah. But writing is a kind of like a little bit of difficult task. Okay, yeah. I'm just change the process from writing to recording. Okay, yeah. So instead of people writing their diary, they would kind of like a record their diary in audio format. I call them as a artifact. The stuff that you are kind of like a listening, it is my artifact. My Artifact episode number 4003. I am actually doing this thing for almost like a decade, every single day, and because of this thing it adds so much amount of value inside of me, and I want that value, that my people, the user, should supposed to be experience that. Okay, yeah. So that's why I'm actually building this application, My Artifact. Okay. This artifact is a people would kind of like share their thoughts every single day, what exactly happened, things and that and that. Okay, and also I'm kind of like a provide you one thing in this application is that privacy means people will not gonna know who is actually kind of like a something listening their artifact. Like they would kind of like a see the random username. That's it. Okay, yeah. And that random username does not define who is that particular person and things and that. It's kind of like a when I add that privacy layer, I will protect the user as well as I'm protecting the kind of like a user who's kind of like a listening other artifact, so that they would not gonna kind of like a simply attack on the real life or things and that and that. Attack means what? Like if the people knows that you are this particular person who live in that and that and that, they might gonna interact with you. They might gonna like yeah. And also is this thing that na ki it's very difficult to attach your real identity with your artifact, because artifact is a very raw, very unfiltered, very unclear. Oh yeah, it just kind of like a dumping your thoughts, so that means it's very unfiltered. Oh yeah, so that's why it's not really always been right or correct. Like all my artifact episode is all my thoughts. Okay, yeah, those are unfinished, unfiltered. Okay, that is called the beauty of the artifact. It is already unfinished and like a unfiltered, whatever. So this is privacy that I'm providing. Now the question is that key, if I'm providing that privacy layer to the every user in artifact, obviously some user will kind of like a simply utilize that privacy for doing something toxic behavior, like hate speeches, religious hate speeches, or criticism, or things and that and that. Now artifact, yes, it is kind of like a somebody record. I sometimes I criticize so many stuff, so many things and that and that. Okay, yeah, but it's not purposefully. Like basically it's this thing now, when I kind of like a criticize something, or when I have to something regarding about something person or organization or things and that I do feel wanted to kind of like a somebody things and that, like I do criticize. It's not really that like a artifact episode is kind of like a dump you all your thoughts and things and that. But when you do purposefully criticize other people, purposefully means what? Purposefully means what na, you don't really have that much intention to criticize somebody, but you are wanted to. Okay, yeah. Because you might gonna get little bit of advantage if you criticize. So that's kind of like a somebody is this thing, that's a very wrong thing. Okay, yeah. Example is this thing, let's just say I'm from India. So usually is this thing, we have a two party system, like we have multiples of party, but there are two political party are very big party, Congress and BJP. Okay, yeah. So whatever the Congress do, BJP criticize. Whatever the BJP do, Congress criticize. Why? Even if something they are doing something right, they are kind of like a criticize. Why? Because those are kind of like opposite party and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. And their job to kind of like a criticize each other party, because that's why they will kind of like a survive. Okay, yeah. If they are kind of like a somebody say this thing that okay, you are doing something right or good and things and that, then probably the opposite party will lose their identity. Okay, yeah. They are actually exist is because of they are criticizing each other and things and that. Okay, yeah. And that is good. Okay, like basically this thing criticizing is kind of like a things that I think that it's very essential in political point of perspective, because you will kind of like a get the both point of perspective. Even if there is a right, there is some sort of wrong in that thing, other party will kind of like a okay, yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing na ki it is good in the political level, but in the artifact it is not. Like let's just say is this thing ki you are recording artifact and you are kind of like criticizing something. Let's just say something about your prime minister. Okay, let's just say your prime minister. Now let me tell you one thing, when you record the artifact is just you record. Okay, yeah. Whatever you say, it impact on you. So basically, if you are criticizing all the time regarding about something, this and that, all the time, like basically this thing, I do criticize, but maybe one or two or things and that and that. Okay, yeah, when I really wanted to things and that, but but I not always criticize. Okay, yeah. If you criticize every single day, then your identity shape. Okay, your identity shape from thinking to criticize, and you always been criticizing people or things and that, and it kind of like a creates something really wrong thing. Okay, yeah. It not only wrong for the application, but it also wrong for you too, because of you continuously consistently criticize people and things and that. There is a one kind of like a some places thing that ki a YouTuber, okay, who kind of like a do something like a little bit of extreme far. Okay, not extreme, but like should I mention? No, not mention. Yeah, it's not really that kind of like a things. It just okay. Yeah. So this is what it is. Like basically criticism. Okay, chalo. Criticism is somewhat something I allow that in my application, but hate speech is kind of like a purposefully telling something wrong. That is a kind of like a toxic. Okay, yeah. And why they kind of like a motivate to do that thing, because of I'm kind of like a providing the privacy layer, because the people who are kind of like a somebody doing this toxic behavior, they have layer of privacy, means other people will gonna know who is that particular person and things and that. So how do I supposed to make sure that those people will not gonna do that thing? Okay, yeah. So first of all is that ki every artifact episode have judged by multiple stuff. Okay, yeah. 70% is actually judged by the people, 30% is actually judged by the algorithm. Okay. Okay, so first of all, when you record the artifact and you publish that artifact in my application, first of all is that it transcribe into the English, okay, yeah, text format, and then algorithm read that text. Okay, yeah. And from read, kind of like assembly algorithm kind of like a give you marks regarding about that key how good is your score. Okay, yeah. Like is that kind of like a artifact is kind of like a share to people or not. Okay, yeah. Like does it kind of like impact or not, like a algorithm try to figure it out that key if it is wrong or right. Like basically let's just say I just a random person who kind of like a recorder kind of like artifact regarding about, let's just say, Muslim community. Okay, yeah. And I kind of like assembly criticize and things and that ki Muslim community people are things and that is the hate speeches. Okay, yeah. Now if such thing happen, then probably is this thing that my algorithm decide that okay, this particular person who kind of like somebody said some sort of thing regarding about this particular religion, which is not right. Okay, yeah. So basically what is that, it gives you some sort of score. Okay, 10 out of maybe like a 5 or 4. Okay, yeah. So this is a kind of like assembly score. but 30%, 70% still depend on people, kind of like assembly people, kind of like assembly give the interaction. Okay, they have like button, dislike button too. Okay, yeah, obviously some people will kind of like a dislike because it is kind of like a wrong. Because of that key, the right and wrong is actually also decided by the peoples too. Okay, yeah, if the people thinks that it is a wrong, then probably what exactly happened that it will not gonna recommend to the more and more people. Okay, so basically is this thing, the like a 30% score is actually done by the AI, kind of like a give the score 10 out of 5. And basically whatever the 70% people interaction and kind of like how much dislike and things and that, okay, it's kind of like a give them a kind of like a simply the score, overall score. Okay, yeah, so combine that score, and from that score it kind of like a give them how much that artifact will recommend to the people or not. Okay, yeah, if it kind of like a lower the score, then lower the kind of like a something the lower the kind of like a credibility to kind of like a somebody recommend to the people and things like that. So the people would kind of like a somebody person who kind of like a somebody record the stuff that he wanted to say, but that artifact will not gonna kind of like a recommend to the more and more people. It does not have that much amount of reach. Okay, this is the one way. Okay, another way, let's just say I am kind of like a scrolling through artifact and I see the particular artifact. Okay, I click and I listen. In this artifact episode, this particular person who kind of like a said some sort of thing regarding about like a Muslim community and things like that, hate speeches. Okay, yeah, I have rights to kind of like a simply flag them artifact. Okay, flag the artifact. So what is actually flag? A flag or report the artifact. So what is actually is this thing? When it kind of like somebody report, okay, what is actually happened that key, how much flag that you get or how much report that you get, it is also kind of like a something is this thing that key block your artifact, or maybe it will kind of like somebody give the warning to the user that you shouldn't supposed to do this thing or that and that. Okay, yeah, it's a kind of like a somebody warning, but flag will not like every user kind of like a report that this artifact episode is not really good and things and that. It will not gonna block, but like a basically my algorithm understand, okay, this artifact episode, this artifact is a kind of a legitly bad. Okay, and things and that, because the score is actually low, some people are kind of like a report that artifact is not good and things and that, so that basically it will kind of like a recommend even less. Okay, so this would be kind of like a somebody thing that I would kind of like a somebody filtered out all the kind of like a somebody negative artifact. Okay, and make sure that all the positive artifact should supposed to be recommend to the higher and higher. Now the question is that what is exactly positive artifact? Oh yeah, positive artifact means like that ki talking about yourself, talking about something that ki you wanted to develop or things, or what exactly you have thought process, or like basically is this thing na, like I build this artifact for cleansing the kind of like a person of you. Okay, yeah, like basically it's not a typical YouTube video. Like a basically it's this thing, in YouTube video you make a YouTube video for other. Okay, yeah, you make a video for other, make the transition smoother, make the kind of like a somebody hook greater and things and that and that and that and that. Okay, yeah, but artifact is not for other, is for you. Okay, it's for you. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing, when I said something like, let's just say I'm actually asking this question to myself, okay, regarding about how do I supposed to make my app really good and things and that. Okay, yeah, so how much it kind of like helped me, it helped me to understand that what do I supposed to do. Right now I'm kind of like building this application. So when I'm building this application, I have this thought process inside of my mind that some people will kind of like utilize my application for wrong behavior, so I would gonna implement that value in my application now. So when I said something, it impact on the real life, okay, yeah. So if I said a good thing, good thing impact on me. Like let me tell you one thing, I am reading this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and every time I read the book, any kind of like a book I read, I ask question to myself, like I wanted to implement the value in my book, so I wanted to implement the value in my life. So basically I went to ChatGPT, kind of like I said that I read this book, I wanted to implement the value, suggest me 20 question. So ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me 20 question, and I kind of like ask this question in artifact and give the honest answer. And when I give the honest answer, I implement that value in my real life. Okay, yeah. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, The more you record artifact, more it value on you. Okay, on you, literally on you. Like basically it's just, if you ask question about how do I supposed to kind of like relationship question, like how do I supposed to fix my relationship and things and that you record this thing artifact, automatically you will kind of like a make, you will kind of like something solve your relationship problem. Yeah, like it impact on real life. Okay, yeah, like if you're kind of like thinking about self development and things and that, and you're asking question in the artifact and things and that, automatically you will kind of like try to develop your self improvement things in real life. Okay, so this is the power of artifact. If you use it rightful, it add value in you. Okay, yeah, but if you do it in a wrong way, it destroy you. Oh, it destroy you. So that's why it's kind of like, that's why I'm kind of like try to tell you, it's a kind of like things that now it's a kind of like a weapon that you have. Artifact is kind of like a weapon. Either you use it, you will sky high. If you not use it for your purpose, you will gonna kill yourself. Literally, like just I'm kind of like take an example. I am a kind of like a particular person who kind of like a record artifact regarding about sex. Okay, yeah, sex. Okay, yeah. Now, obviously, when I talk about the sex, people will gonna listen the artifact. Why? Because sex is a kind of like a very hot topic. People are always listening. Okay, yeah. So let's just say I was kind of like a recording that, oh, I found a girl and I kind of like something like her and things and that, and I kind of like had a sex with her like this way and that 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 way. Okay, yeah. Who knows he's kind of like a telling a truth. Let's just kind of like somebody assume that he was telling a truth. Okay, yeah, he was telling a truth and he was kind of like saying the sexual kind of like experience that he had. Is it a wrong thing? No, it's not wrong thing. Sexual experience is really something really good. If you're not kind of like something mentioning their name and things and that, it is okay, it's fine, it's not really wrong thing. Okay, yeah. The tone of the thing is also really matter too. If you are kind of like using very bad tone and things and that, also not okay, yeah. But still, is this thing that na ki chalo sex talk would be kind of like a somewhat something. Okay, I allow you to do that thing. Okay, yeah, with kind of like a somebody context behavior that how should you supposed to be saying this thing and that. Okay, but take example, this particular person kind of like said this thing. I had this and that and that and that. Okay, yeah, people will kind of like listen his artifact because obviously sex is a very hot topic. Okay, now because of people are actually listening, he is kind of like getting a lot of interaction. People are kind of like liking it or a lot of views and things and that. And he said that, okay, what if I would supposed to be kind of like somebody talk about sex. Okay, yeah. So next artifact, he was bluffing. Okay, yeah, he didn't like kind of like had a sex, he was kind of like a bluffing that ki, oh, I found a girl and things and that, and I had a sex and things and that and that and that. Okay, now you use the same tone and things and that, you will get the kind of like a even more higher interaction, and you are kind of like a feel like, oh, really good, really great. So I just have to lie in artifact. Like who will gonna know who am I? Like basically it's a privacy layer is actually protecting me. So basically I would supposed to be lying, right? Now there is a one thing. Okay, as I mentioned, yes, other user will kind of like a listening to you. They will just maybe give you kind of like a some compliment or things or maybe like button or whatever it is. Oh yeah, but you know that is lie, that is a fake. Okay, yeah. And when you are like basically this, just ask this question to yourself, na, who you are faking to? Like literally, I'm recording artifact. There is no one is here. It's just fucking mobile phone, and I'm kind of like a recording artifact. So when I said something, I am saying to myself. So try to imagine when the people will kind of like record the artifact, who they are lying to them. They are lying to themselves. And when they are lying to themselves, it's a very crippled thing actually happened. Example. Okay, let's just say he was kind of like a said a lying. Okay, he was kind of like a lying and things and that and that. Now because of he was kind of like a talking about sex all the time, and he was kind of like a lying about he did this, he did that and that and that and that. Now what exactly happened in his mind? That kid, dude, sex is good, sex is good, sex is good. So his mind is kind of like something towards the sex more. He was kind of like a thinking about sex more. He watched porn more. Okay, yeah. Now this is a kind of like a basic layer of kind of like a doing something wrong thing. What if that particular person do something even more shitter, like even something wrong? Like what if he just try to do sex with the random people? Now just try to imagine what will gonna happen. This particular person became the rapist. Okay, yeah. Just simply he was lying in the artifact. Simply he's become lying in the artifact. Now I wasn't talk about the kind of like a things that what he became rapist, what he will gonna do. Okay, he can do so many horrible things that I just can't even imagine. Okay, so let me tell you one thing. Artifact is a weapon utilized for yourself for sky high, or artifact is a weapon that utilized for sky down, like literally just sky down. It's a kind of like a thing that when you utilize artifact for right purposes, it just adds so much amount of value in my life. I am the kind of like a really good example that I am here, I'm talking about this thing, I'm kind of like a thinking about that and that and that and that. Okay, yeah. Like you are kind of like a listening this artifact, or like a basically this thing, like seeing me right now because of I already became something in real life. Okay, that's why you are kind of like watching this video, right? Okay, yeah. So this is a kind of like a great example that what artifact kind of like a changed me. I am very fuck person, dude. Like I was kind of like a really shit, but because of artifact I changed myself, and I am where that I am where. Okay, yeah. So if you use it artifact for right purposes, it will add so much amount of value in you. But if you do it in the wrong purposes, you might become the rapist, literally rapist, and you might kind of like something that doing a lot of wrong consequences through the society. So this is gonna stuff happen. When you lie, you are lying to yourself. You are gonna fuck yourself. So this is why I try to make sure that people shouldn't supposed to be lie. That's why I build this kind of like a things that key you will kind of like if you are kind of like saying something wrong or things and that. Okay, yeah. Like artifact is allowed to say everything. Like obviously this thing, we are human, we also have dirty thoughts. I also record the sex talk. Okay, it's not only that I did that thing too. Okay, yeah. But it's our thoughts. We are not talk about sex all the time. Okay, we have a kind of like some sort of things that we wanted to talk and we just talk. Okay, but not all the time. Okay, yeah. Sex is really good. It's not a taboo. It's really good. I am completely kind of like so accept that we should supposed to be kind of like a sex is not a taboo. Yes, but is this thing na ki if you're lying to yourself, that is also wrong thing, dude. Okay, yeah. So basically is this what I'm trying to tell you is that's why my artifact is kind of like that's why my platform is not allowed to them to lie. Okay, how do I supposed to detect that people should supposed to be lie or not? Well, I will I can talk. Okay. So basically is this thing, every artifact episode that you record, my algorithm reads that artifact episode and it creates the personality of you, digital personality of you, that who you are. Okay, who you are. Like let me tell you one thing, I am recording this artifact for almost like a 4000. This is a 4003 artifact. That means I have 4000 of artifact episode that I record and I talk about myself, my goal and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So basically what has actually happened, that algorithm will kind of like somebody try to create my identity. It already created my identity, that who am I, what kind of like somebody, even if the algorithm doesn't know my name, but it kind of like understand my personality, that what kind of like a person am I, what is actually he wanted to, is it good person or not good person and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. He also understand what kind of like an incident that you actually happened because you kind of like a mention and this and that and that. Okay, yeah. So it also kind of like somebody create a history catalog regarding about what you did and what you did not and things and that and that. Now in random artifact you are kind of like a lying. Algorithm understand this lie does not fit. Like example is the same. You are kind of like a particular person who is kind of like a said I was kind of like a somebody living in kind of like a tier 2 city and things and that I never really interact with a lot of stuff and things and that. and suddenly you kind of like a record artifact that he, dude, I went to Las Vegas and dude, I found a kind of like a particular girl and things happened and things happened. Algorithm kind of like somebody detects that this particular person is actually from tier 3 city. How that particular person will kind of like go to the Las Vegas? Okay, yeah, because there is no like let's just say this particular person is actually from India, from let's just say tier 3 city like the Vardha city. Okay, yeah, okay, algorithm doesn't really know that you are from Vardha or you are no, like he kind of like mentioned that he kind of like somebody that particular city, so tier 3 city, so he just kind of like somebody create a kind of like somebody a layer of understanding. Okay, this particular person actually from live in this particular city. Algorithm doesn't really get the any kind of like information about you, where you live. It doesn't really have that information. It has just kind of like a roundabout information about you. Okay, yeah, but when there is some sort of random artifact episode which is kind of like a very strange from things like a, he kind of like a mentioned that he went to Las Vegas and things and that and that and that. Okay, yeah, algorithm kind of like detect that, okay, this is kind of like something very weird. Okay, yeah, like basically his algorithm kind of like a predict that his answer would be associated with this particular cluster, not in the Las Vegas cluster. Okay, yeah, but still human kind of like a go to the Las Vegas and things and that they would have fun and things and that and that. Okay, so algorithm detects that this particular person might be a lie. So what will gonna happen? Algorithm try to kind of like somebody try to figure it out you that are you lying or things and that. It will not gonna ask question lying. It will kind of ask you such a question that verify that you really went to Las Vegas or not. Okay, yeah, obviously okay, let me kind of like a clarify again. Okay, my algorithm name Adam. Okay, yeah, Adam is the algorithm. Okay, who like basically the stuff that I mentioned 30% is actually artifact is actually read by the algorithm, that is the Adam. Okay, yeah, so that I'm talking about the Adam means algorithm. Okay, so Adam will kind of like try to understand you, try to analyze you. Okay, let me give you understanding. Adam does not really have any kind of like information about you, about where you live, about what you do, what kind of like a college that you are, or who is your friend. No, like basically this thing in the app level, every noun means my name is Saurabh Avthare, I am from Vardha, Maharashtra. I kind of like assembly. My father name is Hiraman Avthare. My mother name is Karuna Avthare. My friend name is a Prashik Kinnake. My another friend name is a Badal Ate. Okay, my another friend name is a Vishal. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, na, ki the stuff that I mentioned is a noun. Like basically, I went to Agnihotri College, okay, or maybe kind of like a let's just see this thing that ki this is a like basically this is this is a all noun, okay, yeah, word and things and that. Those nouns are trapped in artifact. Like they strip out in the application in app level, okay, in the app level. How? By kind of like somebody converting that whatever stuff I say into the transcript into the English text or any kind of like a text, and when there is a noun which is easily identified with the noun, trim that segment or strip out that segment, and with that timestamp it add the kind of like somebody beep over there or things and that. Okay, so your entire information, like at the spur of the moment, you kind of like a mention that every information strip out in the application. Okay, yeah, and whatever it remained, it went to Adam. Okay, yeah, and from that Adam, it kind of like somebody create the identity about you, that who are you person and things and that. Okay, yeah. So basically, Adam will not gonna intervene your. Adam doesn't really have any information about you. It just have a kind of like a perspective about you. Okay, a perspective about you. It just try to guess things and that and kind of like a create the cluster about you, that key who you are person and what is actually your cluster in it. And if you suddenly mention the Las Vegas and things and that, Adam will try to figure it out, you are you really went to Las Vegas? Okay, yeah. So Adam will try to ask you such a question that are you really went to Las Vegas or not directly but indirectly, like have you went to kind of like a somebody like a international travel. Okay, yeah. So user might gonna say yes or no or things like that, but how does user like basically does Adam will gonna ask question? Well, okay, let me kind of like give what exactly is this thing. So basically what exactly happened, okay, when you record the artifact, you don't know what kind of like a artifact should I supposed to be record. Like let's just say is you don't really have any direction. Like let me tell you one thing, I am asking this question to myself regarding about I wanted to build the app and things and that. That's why I'm actually asking this question. I give direction to my artifact that where my artifact should supposed to be go. Okay, yeah. Like my artifact means like that the stuff that I'm saying, I have that direction. How that direction actually happened when I ask question to myself. In my application, every user will kind of like simply get this question, like ask this question so that you might gonna get this much credibility or things and that like what is actually your hobby, like how is actually first interaction when you kiss with someone else, or maybe kind of like what is actually happened when you kind of like fall in someone else, or maybe kind of like a things that like, what is actually first day of your job. These are kind of like a bunch of questions and Adam will kind of like ask you. Okay, yeah, and you have to give the answer. Okay, you have to give the answer. Okay, so this is how artifact will kind of like give you the direction to record the artifact. Okay, yeah, so this is how Adam will gonna ask you question. Okay, yeah, also Adam ask such a question that improve your personality. Okay, yeah, always ask question, like basically it kind of like says that ki, what if you did something wrong that you ashamed, or kind of like things and that. Like Adam will ask such a question that you will kind of like simply improve yourself. When you ask this question to yourself, you will try to improve and things and that try to improve your personality. Adam only asks such question. Adam will not gonna ask such a question that kind of like a thing that ki, what kind of like a weapon that you like. Obviously it is not, even if that is a kind of like informative video, but Adam will not gonna ask this question because it's kind of like a represent to the create more violence and things and that. So Adam will not gonna ask this question. Okay, Adam will ask such a question that kind of like help your personality, help you move better and things and that. Okay, yeah, if you are kind of like associate with something, like let's just say I really love to talking about the economics, so Adam will understand this particular person actually from economics. He love talking about economics and things and that. Adam will ask question regarding about economics more. Let's just say he will gonna ask question about that ki, how does import export happen, like how does kind of like somebody the value of the currency determine and things and that. Okay, yeah, if you are a particular person who loves about science and things and that Adam knows that thing, then Adam will ask such a question regarding about how does kind of like somebody Stephen Hawking radiation work, like how does kind of like a black hole works and things and that. Okay, yeah, Adam asks such a question that kind of like improve your personality, improve your talent, improve your things. Ask such a question so that when you record the artifact, it will have direction and you will kind of like a talk properly. Okay, it will. So this is what gonna happen. Okay, yeah, so this is what is my artifact. Okay, so like that's what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key, then why does user will kind of like a talk about shit, like basically if the kind of like a artifact, if the Adam will kind of like a, somebody give you such a topic that improve your kind of like a personality or things and that, then why does people will gonna talk shit? Oh yeah, it is because of that key people shifted from conversation. Okay, like basically it's this thing, the question is about me is that how do I supposed to kind of like make sure that ki in my application how do I supposed to remove the toxic, or how do I supposed to less the toxic behavior and things and that. So this is a particular question and I will talk about my application things and that. Right now I am been recording for artifact for almost like a 11 year, so I did not kind of like a somebody like a away from the topic. Sometime I went away, but most of the time it's what it was in the cluster. Okay, yeah, but at the beginning when you early started recording, you don't really have any thought process, or you have a thought process but it's very jumble up. Okay, and you will kind of like a jump from this or that and that. Okay, yeah, so this is actually happened. Okay, so sometimes the question asked rightly, Adam asked question very right purposeful, but you kind of like a deflect to something else. Okay, yeah, so like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, the question is about that ki how do I supposed to kind of like a simply like a behavior, the toxic behavior in my application by this utilizing method, by kind of like a judgment. Okay, people will kind of like a flag out or dislike or kind of like a things that I should supposed to be kind of like a make sure that the wrong artifact will not gonna recommend more, because important thing is that na ki if person is actually talking about sex, getting more interaction in the artifact, that particular person encourage more. and when it encourage more, he can do something shit stuff, he would gonna lie and things and that. So my first thing is that that wrong artifact will not gonna get that much interaction. Okay, so this is why I kind of like build this methodology to kind of like not to do this stuff. Okay, so this is the kind of like a things, but sometimes I realize that na ki there are so much kind of like a big problem, because let me tell you one thing na, like it's kind of like a very easy to say in artifact episode like this, but when I will kind of build the application, like basically there are almost like 8 billion people are living here, dude. 8 billion people, every person has a very very different opinion, and literally just like that na ki stuff that I'm saying it was quite an easy, it's not an easy, definitely not an easy. There are so many things I have to figure it out and stuff like that, but it's kind of like I will figure it out. I know I will figure it out. It's not like that I will not gonna figure it out. I will figure it out. But stuff that I'm saying is kind of like a far more kind of like a easy, but it's not. But I try to make sure, okay, yeah, things and that will not gonna happen. Alright, so this is it, and I should supposed to be end here. Thank you.